All right, and we're recording now. Let's see, you're kind of buffering there. All right, there we go. All right, guys, this is a new show we're doing. It's called Top 5 with Tony and Gabe. We used to be in the We Come in Peace podcast, which sort of went on a bit of a hiatus. We're not sure if we're going to be doing that anytime soon. Maybe we will down the line. It was definitely fun. But this is strictly movie-driven uh, podcast, and in this show, we'll be talking about our top 5 for a specific genre, a year, a decade, top 5 actors, anything. I mean, we're going to come up with so many different ideas down the line for this show. We're going to bring on a couple of guests that some people might know, some people might follow on YouTube. We're going to try to reach out to some people. And I thought for the first episode, me and Gabe came up with the idea of doing a top 5 of the year. Since it's the end of December now, we're kicking off into 2020. So I'm going to let Gabe go ahead and introduce himself. And yeah, we're going to start the show shortly.
Absolutely. So as Tony said, we're trying something new. We had thought about doing something about at the start of the year or into January, but we figured, hey, let's just do something for the year in 2019 for movies, and sort of like a dry run today. So
it is. This is going to be a bit of a dry run. So we're gonna test it out, see how it goes. There's no wild cards on here. There's no Fabian or Adrian, which you guys might have known from the We Come in Peace podcast. This is much more of a cleaner show, straight to the point. It's quicker,
yes.
no filler, no any crazy sex stories or anything like that. Just straight to the point. We're talking movies and movies only. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna jump into this. This is gonna be our top 5 movies of 2019, and we'll start off with a bunch of our honorable mentions. We're just going to jump into it. So Gabe, I'll let you go first. What's a film you want to throw in first for honorable mentions?
Honorable mentions. I really want to throw in Peanut Butter Falcon. I don't know if you've seen it at all, but it does have Shia LaBeouf in it.
I have not seen it yet. I need to see it.
It is a very touching story, and I gotta be honest. I feel like Shai really raises his level as far as an actor is concerned in this movie. Obviously he's been pretty good in everything that he's done. Fury, Holes, and all that stuff. But I feel like this movie has really taken him to a different level. It's such a heartwarming story. At the end of the movie, I felt like somebody was cutting onions, in the basement. So I was like, when a movie makes me feel that way and like moves me in a certain way, like if you see my list, you'll see why I didn't make my top 5. But this movie definitely is. It should have been in there, but my other 5 are just that much better. But yeah, I absolutely recommend Peanut Butter Falcon to anybody.
I got to check it out. I've heard so many things about it. Everybody I've talked to is just like crazy in love with the Peanut Butter Falcon. I think Shai is going to get a lot of love between that and the movie he did, Honey Boy. It looks like those two are going to get him a lot of love during these award circuits that are going to be going around within the next month in January, February, whenever Oscar season comes out. So I'm pretty excited for that movie. I'm going to have to check it out now that it's on DVD.
Yes.
So you're throwing that in as your first honorable mention?
I am. What are you throwing in as your first honorable?
All right, I'm gonna look here at my phone. I know I had a list of them, and these movies are all great that we're throwing the honorable mentions. This was a crazy year for movies in general. You had a lot of big blockbusters out there. So I'm gonna go ahead for the first one. I'm gonna go ahead and throw in. I was gonna throw in one of the horror films I loved, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna throw in one of the comedies I really enjoyed. I'm gonna go ahead and throw in Knives Out. Which by all means would have and could have made my top 5, just like any of these movies. And maybe down the line it could rise up or down. It really depends on what day I'm watching the film and how much I love it. But Knives Out is definitely a great comedy, a great whodunit comedy. And I'm so happy that movie's making like all the money right now. It's such a great ensemble cast that it's a really great story. A lot of great actors in it. And I was genuinely surprised by it the entire way through. I really hope that turns into a franchise like people claim it's going to be. So that's going to be my first honorable mention, Knives Out.
Yeah, I heard Daniel Craig could be the detective, and that's how they franchise it.
Yeah.
I didn't see it. It was definitely on my list to see it. But, with the holidays coming up, it's sort of hard for me to get away to watch some of these movies that come out towards the end of the year. But it's definitely going to be a rental when it comes out.
I highly recommend it. I think you have a fun time. It's a fun movie. A lot of people hate on the director Rian Johnson for what he did with Star Wars and stuff, but I think a lot of people, if you go in this with a clear mind and judge this movie for this movie only and not his past movies, you're gonna have a fun time. It's one of the most fun comedies of the year. It's definitely one of the most fun original like comedies, which we really don't get anymore. And we
Right.
talked about that before on the We Come in Peace podcast. We don't get a lot of big original comedies, and this is definitely one of them. It's a good throwback.
No, absolutely. And a little sidebar here is I don't get what people don't like directors, because every director, like any human being, they change and they grow. Their style changes. They mature a little bit. I feel like the only two directors that should get any hate for obvious reasons is the guy that does Jeepers Creepers and Roman Polanski.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, there's no reason to hate a director on if he did one movie and he fucked up your whole Star Wars mythology. Like, you can't hate him for the rest of your life because of that.
You talked about one guy who people claim raped their childhood, and then you name drop two people who have literally raped childhood, which is true. No, it's true. I mean, yeah, I get it. You shouldn't judge a director based off that stuff. And he's a talented guy. This is a really solid, really great film.
Right.
That I recommend anybody could see. Anybody will have a fun time with it. So that's going to be my first honorable mention. And I'll go ahead and shoot it back to you if there's another film in your list you want to name drop before we get into the top five.
Staying within the comedy route, Stuber. I'm going to throw in Stuber.
I had fun with Stuber. I liked it a lot.
So did I. So it came out in August. Within all these summer blockbusters came out. I believe it won his first weekend. I'm not too sure about that, but I had so much fun. Camille was hilarious in it. Like, he is in almost everything that he does. And Batista really surprised me as far as his comedic chops. Like, he has those one-liners as, Drax the Destroyer, and that's fine. Like,
Right.
But in this movie, he really, between him and Camille, they really carried the film entirety. And it's that nice buddy cop, movie that people have been looking for, and it's sort of an original thing with the whole body cop as a background to it. And I really enjoyed it. I had fun, and that's a lot of times what I'm looking for. And like, I don't need it to win an Oscar, I don't need it to be up for best director. I just want to go to a movie theater, have fun, eat some popcorn, and if I'm laughing, yeah, I think the movie's pretty great.
Yeah, no, I had a lot of fun with Stuber. That's a movie that sort of came and went. I think it had like a pretty packed opening weekend, and then people just sort of forgot about it. And I think a lot of people were kind of hard on that movie. I felt the same way. I just like, what a buddy cop movie. I just want a really fun film. It feels a lot like 48 Hours with Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy. It's that same kind of banter, but with the whole idea that this guy's an Uber driver, which is really cool. Batista is like the highlight of that movie for sure. Like, as funny as Camille is, Batista steals the show. He owns the film. And he's doing like this whole Stallone sort of gruff, like grizzled cop sort of thing, and it's fun. It's a fun ass movie.
It is. It definitely is. So now that I've had my two honorable mentions, what are you throwing in there as your second one?
All right, I'm gonna throw in. How many honorable mentions you want to do, by the way, before we jump into top five?
I don't know, 3, I guess.
Okay, we'll do this one, then we'll do one more each. So I'm going to go ahead, and I'm trying to pick. I know I was crazy about Crawl. I know everybody knew in the podcast that we did before this, knew how crazy I was about Crawl. It did not make my top 5, I'll say that right now, but it's not going to be my honorable mention, even though it's high on my list. It's definitely in my top 10 of the year. But I'm going to go ahead and throw and tip my hat towards my number 8, which is going to be the honorable mention I'm going to throw in right now. It's going to be Jojo Rabbit. It's another movie where, like, comedies, people are saying the comedy is dead. The comedy, there's no mid-budget comedy. Mid-budget comedies are being made. And we just mentioned one, too. It's Stuber. It's the fact that audience members aren't going to see these movies. Everybody was asking for Taika Waititi, who made the Thor Ragnarok film.
Right.
Like, we want him to direct everything. Tell him to make this, make that, make Flash Gordon. He made a great movie about a kid whose imaginary friend is Adolf Hitler during war-torn Nazi Germany. And it's a great film about friendship, about love, about compassion for the human spirit. about not judging your fellow like human and just like everything. They're like what a film that goes for it in terms of jokes and slapstick humor, like a Mel Brooks movie that you would see from the '70s. Like it has such a great heart to it. I know you were a big fan of Marriage Story. I haven't seen it, but Scarlett Johansson in this film gives a great performance as the mother character, and
Okay.
Sam Rockwell steals the show. Everybody is just fantastic in it, and it's hilarious. It's one of the funniest movies of the year. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw my hat in for Jojo Rabbit as an honorable mention in my top.
Yeah, I have to see. I've seen a lot of interviews that it's like the director has done, and he talks about how he fell asleep at on sets and how because he
Right.
was directing and he was also performing in it and it was just too much, and it seemed a very interesting concept. That's something that I'm gonna have to check out as well
It's
in
fun.
that regard.
It's a fun movie, but it's super funny. But then it's heartbreaking too at the same time. They really deal with
Right.
the subject matter in a really smart way. So that's gonna be my honorable mention. I believe we're gonna do one more now, right? So you're
One
gonna throw
more,
out one more.
yeah.
All right.
I just saw this movie, and it didn't make my top 10 at all, but it was really interesting to me, and that's Ad Astra, the Brad Pitt movie.
Okay, I haven't
Now,
seen this.
so Brad Pitt's not, this is not the only movie that's going to be mentioned today that he's made that's going to be on the list. But this one, I believe it was his passion project. And I had so much, it's a drama, but it was, I don't know, I had so much fun with it in the sense where, he's in space. It's basically Brad Pitt in space. So you take Gravity was good. I mean, I want to win an Oscar, but I mean, Gravity was, let's be honest, a little boring because it's just Selma Bullock in
It was very
space.
hyped. Very hyped.
Right. And but let's just say let's kick it up a notch with Ad Astra, and it's Brad Pitt like being totally badass in space. Like he's like a stone cold astronaut. And
Sweet.
yeah, I mean, I know it's not a lot of people saw it, but I definitely would recommend Ad Astra. It's one of the, best space movies, I would say,
Okay.
that's come out recently.
I like even from the trailers, I knew nothing about it. They really don't give much away, so I still have to see it. But I've heard nothing but fantastic. Everybody I've talked to has raved about this movie.
Yeah, yeah. It's the trailers don't give nothing, don't give anything away, and I'd say that's pretty great because as we know, trailers sometimes give away the whole movie within the 2 minute clip. But
Right.
this one, it's you don't know what's coming. It's you think it's going to be a movie about this, and all of a sudden it veers course and becomes something completely else, which is
Okay.
great. So
Yep.
that would be my last honorable mention here. And then what do you have for me here?
All right. All right. Let me see. All right. I gotta double check because I keep jumping back and forth over which film I want to highlight. And all the films I've talked about are within a certain range. And like I said, I don't want to mention Crawl or Ready or Not because I feel like uh, those are movies that, uh, you know, let's see. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to talk about The Lighthouse because The Lighthouse, I was struggling for a moment. I was deciding between that and Ford versus Ferrari, which is another fantastic movie among a bunch of fantastic movies this year that came out. But I'm going to highlight The Lighthouse because it came in at my number 10 slot in my top 10. And what really makes this movie is just the sheer acting power of Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson. It's a crazy mindfuck of a movie about a guy slowly turning crazy inside of this lighthouse. And like you're seriously, it's like a downhill spiral of somebody's psyche, and it's insane. It's wonderful. The acting is incredible. The cinematography, the lighting. It's one of those movies that I definitely say you have to be there in the theater to
Right.
experience it. I don't know how it holds up on video because I feel like just sight and sound were a big factor in this movie. But that's why it comes in at my number 10 slot. I don't know how well it's going to hold up in multiple viewings. But I definitely loved it. I remember like the theatrical experience made me anxious and like uneasy but it, like a lot of that has to do with seeing that on a big screen and experience this one of a kind movie on the big screen. So
Right.
that I wanted to shout out The Lighthouse. It's a fantastic movie. Actually, I like that better than uh, another very hyped horror film that came out by two sophomore directors, Midsummer, which I really enjoyed. I enjoyed a lot. I think there's a lot of fantastic stuff in that movie. I think I like The Lighthouse a little bit more. Uh, but that's another fantastic horror movie. But yeah, I'm going to shout out The Lighthouse. I think it's great. And I think if you're into really weird, psychedelic kind of horror films and with gothic sort of overtones, you'll like this one.
Right. So let me ask you, because you say it's you don't know if it's going to hold up at home viewing. So you think that watching this movie, is it better to watch it in a multiplex or in a smaller theater? Like one of those that you could find in like downtown Chicago type theater.
I say like any kind of theater because I think any theatrical experience enhances a movie because
Right.
you could totally like see Avengers Endgame on your phone versus the theater, and one's going to be better than the other. The experience, the movie's still going to be the same, and The Lighthouse it's still a really great movie. But I think the theatrical experience, and it was a big screen we were watching it on. It was a big screen, big room they had it in. And just something about it just added to the experience of a one of a kind sort of film. So I would say like a big
Okay.
multiplex, like if you could catch it on the biggest screen possible, you're gonna feel everything Robert Pattinson is feeling in this movie, his character, and it's also really funny. There's like a 5 minute fart joke. Oh no, there's actually the film is filled with fart jokes for some reason, but it's really good.
It's right up our alley with fart jokes.
Oh yeah, yeah. I never thought fart jokes could work anymore, but for some reason this movie made it work, and it worked really well too.
Right. So does and another sidebar here, real quick. So you think Robert Pattinson is the perfect Batman after watching The Lighthouse?
I think he's going to be the perfect Batman still. After a good time, Lighthouse. I got to see High Life. That's another movie he came out in this year. I have not seen it.
Right.
Everybody's been raving about that, and I think that's Robert Pattinson in space too, from what I know. But I think he will be the perfect Batman. I guess we'll see. I mean, the movie comes out in a year now, and he's pretty much training, and we'll see first look pictures within a couple of weeks. So we'll see how he looks as Batman. See if he got buff or took steroids or whatever the fuck.
I hope he did.
Oh, I hope he took steroids too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Why not?
Yes, it would.
Sylvester Stallone does it. He's like 80. He's taking steroids.
Oh yeah.
There's no way that's natural.
No, no, no. And this by no means is an honorable mention or anywhere on my list. But if you saw Rambo: Last Blood, you definitely know he did steroids.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he said that movie's kind of like a horror movie at some points. I felt bad for every Mexican in that movie. I got very bad for that.
I don't want to mean to. I don't want to get political here, but I mean it did feel like Rambo versus Mexicans.
It does. It's a fun movie, but it's also kind of scary.
It's very violent and
It's
very
very
gory, and it was great in that aspect. And but it did feel like he loved this one Mexican family, but then like he was like fuck all these other Mexicans, like sort of like how people will be like, oh my god, I love Mexican food, but fuck y'all, you Mexicans, go back to Mexico. You know what I'm saying?
He annihilates these people where it just that's a fun movie in the sense that it's very ridiculous.
It is.
But it's ridiculous. But I sort of forgot that came out recently until we talked about it. Yeah, that's a crazy movie. But yeah,
It is very crazy.
Lighthouse will be my last honorable mention, and I believe it's your turn now, right? Did you go?
Oh yeah, we did our both our three honorable mentions. So now
What was your third?
I had my third was Ad Astra.
Oh yeah, so you had Stuber at Astra. And what was the first
Yes. The first one was Peanut Butter Falcon.
one? Okay, yeah, that's right. Oh wait, shit, yeah, that is three. All right, I mean, yeah. So if you guys are listening, that'll be our honorable mentions. And there's a couple other movies I'd shout out to. I mean, all the Marvel movies were fun this year. I had a lot of fun with Endgame. I had a lot of fun with Spider-Man, Far From Home. I thought those were great. I thought Shazam was a lot of fun. As much as I love those movies, I feel like I'm drawn to more like crazy, like wild ideas, that stuff that I haven't seen on the big screen in a while. Or
Right.
just like as much as I love those movies, I felt like I was having more fun with character driven, sort of grounded films. So I did want to shout out those movies too, because those were also really fun and great.
They are, and I do want to say that for people that think that Hollywood is out of fresh ideas, um, I believe our list is made up of a lot of movies that are original ideas, and
Yeah,
it's go out and see them, go out and support these movies, because without their support, they're not making them. You know, they're going to continue making Marvel movies and DC movies and these superhero movies, which, trust me, as a comic book guy, I love them. Yeah, I love seeing my
I'm
heroes
fine with it.
on the screen. I'm fine with it. But at the same time, don't complain that, oh, there's no original movies. One, there's movies out there that nobody's watching. You know, you pay with your dollars as far as what's going to go on the big screen. But so
Right.
if you're just paying for these big movies and nothing else, then they're not gonna make anything else. They're just gonna be making remakes and all these
Right.
other stuff. So I thought 2019 was a great year for original ideas. You know,
Yeah.
so I'm looking forward to next year, because I feel like next year will be even more fresh ideas, more fresh movies out there.
Oh yeah.
So
No, I agree. I forgot to mention. I don't know if you're going to talk about it. I wanted to shout out Us really quick. Definitely within my top 20 of the year. It was really great follow up. I think it's hard for Peele to touch the greatness of Get Out. I feel like that's a one of a kind, one of my favorite horror movies of all time. Really a masterpiece, a modern masterpiece. But
right.
Us was a great follow up. I wanted to shout that out real quick. That's another original film, and I'm happy that that guy's on a roll making original horror films. He's a new master. So I just wanted to shout that out real quick.
Until his third movie, because he's remaking Candyman.
Well, he only wrote it. He only
Oh,
wrote
he
it.
only wrote it?
Yeah.
He didn't direct it?
No, he's got a new original film he's gonna direct next year, I think, for
Oh,
Universal again. He
nice.
said a 3-picture deal, so he wrote that, and I think I forget her name. It's a female director that's taken over the reins of that. So that's out next year, isn't it?
It is out next year in 2020.
That's gonna be awesome. Yeah, it's a sequel too, because Tony Todd is in it, and it takes place in Chicago again, from what I know.
That's the exciting part, living in Chicago, real quick, is that I I don't feel like Chicago gets a lot of movie love, so it's always great to hear Chicago mentioned in movies, or see, you know, the skyline of Chicago in a movie. It might be filmed in Vancouver, but you get the, you know, Chicago skyline, and then they mention some Chicago streets, and it's all good.
Hey man, if the '70s were for New York, the '80s were for Chicago, with Christmas Vacation, all the vacation movies, all the John Hughes movies, and a lot of movies took place. Adventures in Babysitting,
Right.
you know, Candyman, Child's Play. So you know, like hopefully we see a comeback of movies that take place in Chicago again. That'd be pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so let's do it. Let's get into the top 5. What are you gonna say at your number 5 slot?
All right, at my number 5 slot, and I believe this is the only franchise movie that I have in my top 10. And it's not really a franchise, but it is. But it's the remake to Child's Play that is in my number five slot. Now, we've gone back and forth on this.
We have.
I'm a huge Child's Play fan. I believe he's top 3 of horror, behind Jason and Freddy Krueger. Michael Myers doesn't even make top 5 for me, but anyway, that's another podcast. But Child's Play, Chucky, the remake, I thought was a phenomenal movie, based on the fact that I know for a lot of people, they see it as a cash grab. MGM did a cash grab. They were going to lose the rights to it, so they just decided to make a quick movie. So real quick, as Tony, you know, but maybe nobody else knows, they announced this movie in August of 2017 or 2018.
2018, yeah.
Yeah, 2018. By September, they had already cast every single role, a month after announcing it. And then 2 months later, they were done filming. And then all of a sudden, they brought it out in July. So within, this movie was written and directed within a 3-month, 4-month span, one of the quickest turnarounds. Now, that sets up for a very low expectation type of movie, which I had going into it. And they knocked it out of the park. The casting was great. The kid was great. The police officer was great. Aubrey Plaza was believable as a single mother. And then the best for me was they turned Chucky to an AI and they made him relevant to today's, to 2019, to 2020, where AI is basically almost running rampant. Everything has AI. You could turn your lights on with your phone. You can turn on the TV with the refrigerator. Everything is connected to Wi-Fi, and that's why I think they did a phenomenal job, and that's why Child's Play makes my top five, the number five spot here.
I really enjoyed Child's Play. And the reason why me and Gabe said we go back and forth on it, we went back and forth on what the best horror films of the year were and stuff. And Child's Play is definitely one of the most fun movies I saw amongst the time period it came out. And I was genuinely surprised as well. I think it's a fun movie. I think there's a lot of fun kills in it. I thought the doll was fine. I thought the CGI was a little wonky at times, so that's a little thing. It's one of the better remakes that come out in recent memory, so I think it's a fun movie for sure.
Yes, yeah, for sure. I mean, and it's not, to me, it's not my top horror movie. There's another one that's going to come up on this list, but I definitely want to hear what your number five movie of 2019 is.
Yeah, so my number five, and my list changed. Like, there were so many great films I saw this year. There was just another one I forgot to mention is Dolomite with Eddie Murphy. Another fantastic, really funny movie. Definitely in my top 20. Didn't quite crack my top 10. So I struggled to narrow down everything, but I think in my top five, and it could move up and down within a spectrum. But if I had to rank it, definitely number five. It's the horror epic sequel to Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, Dr. Sleep. I was really excited for this movie. I never read the book, and especially knowing the movie was going to come out, I just all right, I just want to view the movie. I want to experience the movie from one of the coolest, hottest horror directors right now, Mike Flanagan, who did The Haunting of Hill House. He did I'm forgetting the fucking movie, Gerald's Game. So like he's dabbled with some Stephen King stuff before. Now he takes a crack at one of the biggest Stephen King IPs, and that's the Shining franchise. And this movie looks and feels from the moment it starts like a sequel to The Shining, a la the Supernatural. It's a I'd say it's a horror supernatural epic. It feels at times like an X-Men movie. With the people that shine, the abilities they have, it spans multiple years and generations, and it's just one of the coolest flicks of the year. It has one of the coolest villains. I'd say the coolest villain of the year. Even though people love Thanos and stuff, I think Rose the Hat was the coolest movie villain of the year. So the callbacks to The Shining are really cool, but definitely this is its own movie. I think people who aren't big fans of The Shining might even like Dr. Sleep better than The Shining. So I was kind of bummed out when it didn't make the money it should have made in theaters. But I think it's definitely a movie deserving of love and praise, and it's really fucking cool. And there's some great sequences in that are really inventive. So I think it'll find its audience in years to come. But definitely at number five, Dr. Sleep.
So there's people out there that don't like The Shining?
I know people that don't like The Shining. People who like the book better than the movie. People who don't like the movie at all but like the book. And there's a lot of horror fans that have tattoos and shit but never seen The Shining, or find The Shining boring but have a red rum tattoo.
Right.
But I think Dr. Sleep is definitely a more universal film for everybody. You don't have to be the biggest fan of The Shining. This is even though it's a sequel, it's its own movie. It's a great character study. It has the best. It's the best X-Men movie of the year. I'll say that. It's way better than Dark Phoenix. So if you want to see a good X-Men movie, see Dr. Sleep, because it really legit feels like an X-Men movie. It's a fantastic film. I had a blast watching Dr. Sleep.
Well, that's good. I debated on seeing it. I didn't see it because I don't know. It didn't capture my interest when I saw it.
I think I think somewhere down the line there was a miscommunication with the audience and the marketing and stuff. I feel like they could have really amped this up, and I think maybe less focus on the Shining stuff and focus on its own story, because that's where the movie shines, when it's just its own thing. It's a really cool film. So I'd say definitely when it comes to, I think it's coming to VOD and digital and stuff in a couple weeks, and it's going to be director's cut too. So
Okay.
I say check it out. It's a fucking awesome movie.
I definitely would be checking it out.
So what's going to be your number 4?
Number 4 is my top horror movie of the year. At number 4 is Midsommar. I know you just said it was your honorable mention, or within your top 10 or 20.
About top 20, I'd say.
Okay, so yeah, that for me was my top horror movie of the year. I thought that Ari Aster did a beautiful job doing this movie. I think it was a great follow-up to Hereditary. If you've seen Hereditary and you take the creepiness factor of it and how dark it was, and then you compare it to Midsommar, which was wonderfully like lit. I don't know, like the colors, the pastels. It was like bright.
It's a beautiful looking movie.
It's a beautiful looking movie. You get the flowers, and it's very vibrant. You get the green of the grass, and the beautiful, I think, was it Sweden or Norway, whatever.
Yeah, it was
sky.
like Norwegian sky. Yeah, no, it's some great sequences in there.
It's some great sequences. You take the whole going to a foreign land and dealing with foreign cultures and their traditions, and then all of a sudden you like twist it and you manipulate it into something very, very scary that you watch. And to the people there, which is normal. I won't give anything away because it's obviously just came out this year. But like one of the death scenes, like the people that are used to it, they just walk like nothing happened.
Right.
And then to the foreigners are like, what the hell? Like, what did I just see? And then that just starts the whole twisted factor of this. And then you mentioned the one movie about the psychedelics. I forgot which one you said.
The Lighthouse.
The
right?
Lighthouse.
Yeah.
This is also dealt with psychedelics and mind warping and twisting, and they see things, or it wasn't there, wasn't not there. So I thought this movie did a phenomenal job as far as the way it was shot, the way that he directed it. And I think he also had we talked about Jordan Peele and his follow-up. I thought this was a worthy follow-up to Hereditary as far as a director. I'm very excited the way horror is going with these directors and what they're doing.
Me too. There's a lot of like really solid horror directors that are just like have made great movies, and now they're getting chances to do big things and shit like that. So Ari Aster's one of them. Jordan Peele, yeah.
Right. And it goes back to saying, there was a time frame in horror that we were getting a lot of remakes, a lot of sequels, and all these other types, and now all of a sudden these two guys are coming and they're like, here's some new blood, here's some new pumping in some new blood into the horror franchise.
No, that's the cool thing about it. A lot of horror's been going that way lately too. There's a lot of, I can name at least 5-6 directors that are just like bringing something new to the genre.
Yes, and again, sorry, real quick. I want to say also that the people that don't get it, that call it artsy, fartsy horror movies, I feel it's people that just don't. At the end of the day, they don't get it. They don't get the vision. They're stuck to a genre of horror that, yeah, by all means, it's great. It's worked all the time. Your slashers, your demonic possession horrors.
Right.
But these movies, they're trying to transcend horror movies, and they're doing a phenomenal job. And I feel like people need to open up their mind more and see these movies for what they should be for.
I agree. I think I'm a big fan of this guy. I'm excited to see what he does next. Same thing with Robert Eggers and Jordan Peele, and I think the future of horror is looking bright. I'd say.
Right. The guys that did Ready or Not, I forgot the team, but they also are
Radio Silence, which Ready or Not, that's a great horror movie this year that I'm excited just in general. Horror this year I thought was great, and there's a lot of horror movies I haven't seen that I've heard are phenomenal, so I'm excited to do a little bit of catch up as well.
So what do you have in as your number 4 here?
All right, number 4. This was my number 2 for a while, and it shifted down and down and down. Uh, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna drop in probably the most controversial movie of the year. Definitely, a movie that people are just like going crazy on. It drew in a lot of political arguments, a lot of social arguments, a lot of arguments about the director, about the comments he made, a lot of arguments about whether or not a certain actor is deserving of awards. And I'm gonna throw in Joker. I think Joker was everything I was hoping for from the trailer. They pitched a Martin Scorsese style origin story for the Clown Prince of Crime, and I felt like I got exactly that. Uh, no, it's not the most original like story. It's very simple, but it's all dependent on that performance Joaquin gives, on the direction, on the music, on the cinematography, this vibe in Gotham City. Just everything develops into a great character study that I'd show acting to stuff like Nightcrawler and American Psycho, Taxi Driver, about really fucked up people. And Joaquin is amazing in it. I mean, there's nothing more I can say. I think it's a great movie. I think some of the fans are a little crazy. I think some of the detractors are a little crazy. I'm right in the middle, and I say, I'm going to judge the movie for what it is. And I thought it was a great character study. And I had a fun time, not fun time, but I had a great time with the movie. It's definitely not a fun movie, but it's a really good movie, and it's definitely in my top 5. I think it's something I'll be revisiting when it comes to home video and digital.
I think it already came out or it comes out this week or
Oh,
tomorrow.
does it? Oh, shit. So yeah, definitely Blu-ray then. It'll be a Blu-ray buy
Yes.
for me. So yeah, no, I thought Joker was a fantastic film.
So I'm not gonna add much because it's a little bit higher on my list. So when I bust it out, I mean I'm gonna give a little bit more into it. So
Okay. So all right, that makes sense.
yeah,
I think I'm gonna do the same thing with certain films. So yeah, Joker number 4 for me. What's gonna be your next pick?
my next pick is a movie I finished watching before we started this, and that's gonna be Uncut Gems. It came out of left field for me.
Okay.
Um, and knocked out a couple movies and moved it. Knocked out a movie and moved another movie lower on my list. But Uncut Gems to me was phenomenal. It's not your standard Adam Sandler movie. It brings back um, drama. Adam Sandler, to, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated dramatic actors.
Yep.
Based on his whole, filmography, yeah, he's a comedy guy. He's made great comedy movies. Nobody's going to take that away from him. But the roles that he chooses to do his drama are perfect for him. And
Yep.
this was one of those roles. The ending was, you don't see it coming. And you feel sorry for the guy the entire movie. And at some point you're like, dude, why are you fucking up? And
Why are you?
dude, like you could obviously see what the right choice is, and he doesn't go there. And you're like,
Yeah.
yelling at the screen, and you're like, dude, like what the like you already
Yeah.
see everything's happening. Like, dude, what the fuck? So this movie just came in. We talked about it, and the trailer looked really good. And then I debated on seeing it or not. And today I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna watch it.
Yeah.
And I am so glad I did. Like, it
Yeah.
is
And
phenomenal.
so it's interesting that we talked about, like, we won't say much on if somebody has a pick and it's higher on our list. It's actually same slot for me, but what I will say, my top 3 could be interchangeable. Like, the more I think about Uncut Gems, it could move up, and the more I think about another movie, it could be just all tied together. So my top
Right.
3, I'd consider my top like 1 tied across. But Uncut Gems can move up. I've seen it multiple times now, so everything that Gabe mentioned about the movie, I feel the exact same way. For some reason, it makes you feel sorry for this degenerate gambler. It's a movie about
Right.
addiction, and it's the most realistic gambling movie I've ever seen, about somebody who's addicted to something that's really bad for you, just like any other drug. It's only going to end one way, because he doesn't learn his lesson. Even when things look like they could be going up, even when they look like, okay, you found a way to finally win. Maybe not win on paper, but win in terms of you'll be safe, you live a fine life. But like this guy, that's not that's not him. He's in it for the adrenaline. He's a adrenaline junkie. He's in it for just pure instinct. Like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this right now. I'm gonna do it. And he's addicted to that sort of thing, where it ruins his life. It ruins his family, and it does it in all the most grounded, and the most. It's funny as hell. It's still funny, but it's grounded and fucked up too.
Right.
And seeing this movie doesn't work without Adam Sandler. Nobody else could play this role.
No, I don't think this role was made especially for him. No, but no, like you take any other actor and you look at him and like, no, this isn't him. Like that wouldn't be him.
Yeah.
And it had to be Adam Sandler for this role. Nobody else could play him.
No, I agree.
He did a phenomenal job. Everybody, the whole cast did. Even Kevin Garnett did a fantastic job in it.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, it was. I loved it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, it's just makes me glad to see Adam Sandler not doing his whole Netflix comedies that those are very hit or miss and sometimes really, really bad, and that he was able to do this and definitely put his name back out there because he definitely has Oscar nomination coming his way, I believe.
I believe so too, and it's funny that you say that it's not the normal Adam Sandler thing. Where at some points I felt like if you were to tell somebody this story without telling them, like Uncut Gems is a really grounded drama about addiction. If you just told them really like basic ballpoint sort of notes about the film, like Adam Sandler owns a jewelry shop, he deals with celebrities, there's basketball, he has a hot wife, and he's struggling to stay close to his family. People might say it's like a normal Adam Sandler movie. It's like it has the basic notes, and then you show them the movie, and it's like completely different. It's a grounded, realistic portrayal of a guy literally on the edge, and it's a wonderful sort of character study that feels like it's from a different era, even though it's made now. It feels like movies that used to come out like from the 80s and 70s, stuff that like Al Pacino would do. It's just like, it's crazy. And it's one of the most, I mean, we talked about the third act. The third act is one of the most wild, adrenaline rushing moments I've ever felt watching a movie in recent memory.
Oh, absolutely. That third act was it was completely well written. It was well directed.
Yeah.
It was definitely well acted. The last act played like a mafia movie in a sense.
Right.
To me, it was a better. The third act was better than the entire Irishman,
which is a movie we're going to bring up soon because I think one of us didn't like it, one of us did. So I definitely Uncut Gems is a movie that I recommend people to see. I'm really happy that it's doing well though. So we will talk about the Irishman in a second.
We will.
So that was both. I mean, we knocked out our number threes, both of us, because I just threw in it was my number three. So what's your number two?
My number two is the movie that you referenced as your number four, and that's going to be Joker. It was my number two movie of the year. Like you said, it was a wonderful character study on the descent into madness. It was one of those movies that you sit down and it's a slow burn because it's not your standard comic book movie that it's like starts off action. You get a little bit of, what's going on, and then you get more action. This was more like you see him slowly churning, you see his mind sort of start going off the deep end. It's already teetering. It's already there when the movie starts, and then it's slowly you start pulling at the straws. And it slowly starts, unraveling.
Right.
And then, but so that by the time you get to the third and final act, it's just complete chaos. That's that he's created, that he's done. And to me, that was what was really wonderful. What separates itself from just, I wouldn't even consider it a comic book movie because yes, it does say Joker. It is based on Batman's arch nemesis. But other than that, it doesn't play like a comic book movie. It plays like a really good drama. It plays like a really good, or like it plays like an original movie. That's why I don't even consider it like a franchise movie.
You could have called it Arthur. It would have played the exact same.
Right. It would have played the exact same, which is why I honestly, I understand why they're gonna try to make a sequel, but why I'm honestly so against it because it's such a beautiful movie that it doesn't need a sequel. I know it
Right.
made over $1 billion. I get that you're trying to cash in on that, but this movie does not need a sequel.
No.
We've got the one and done. Let Arthur Fleck be. Let that be the Joker in its own little universe. We don't need Batman or the Flash or Aquaman to come into this Joker universe. Let it be because it's such a beautiful movie and for the direct and for it to come out of the director of The Hangover, of the Hangover that I have here, Todd Phillips, right behind me. It's just so I don't know. It's like a majestic movie in my eyes.
Yeah, no, it's I agree with everything you say, and he's always been a great director. I think he just got stuck in one genre, and here he shows that he's capable of a plethora of different things, and I'm excited for him to see what he's going to do with any other movie as well. But Joker is a fantastic movie. I don't think it was deserving of all the crazy controversy surrounding it. I think people should have just judged the movie for what it was. If you didn't like it, that's fine. If you did like it, fine. But it's I think it's a really great film about class warfare, about mental health, and it says a lot of things. And it's a great performance all around by Joaquin Phoenix.
It is, and it sort of goes to how our society is at this point, right? It's either you're left or you're right. It's you're either too left or too right, and it's like, why can't people just be in the middle? Like, you don't have to dislike it because of the violence, or you don't have to dislike it because it's promoting, free healthcare or free social.
Right.
It's a movie. Enjoy it for what it's worth. It's not everything has to be political. I know movies
Right.
have messages. I know this one probably did. I know it did, but at the end of the day, it doesn't make people want to go out and buy guns and shoot people. Like
No.
how how the left put it, it's like, oh, this movie is made to go to the movie theaters and shoot people, and they had security people at the movie theaters. Like, no, come on now, that's too
Yeah.
extreme.
No, it's true. There was a lot of people on far sides of either thing of party where they you have like a certain group talking about, oh, I don't like this movie because it's promoting this female agenda. I don't like this movie because it's promoting this. It's like, guys, enjoy the movie. You could recognize certain messages. There's messages in all kinds of movies that
Right.
we see. Get Out has a message. A bunch of movies have messages, and it's the Stepford Wives have a message. Fucking Night of the Living Dead, but recognize the messages, but really admire the movie for what it is, and just take it for what it is. And I think Joker's one of those movies where it was really it was praised, and then out of nowhere all this controversy came in, and just oh, what the fuck, the movie really it sucks because the movie's very deserving of all the praise and all the box office records and shit it got. It was a really well made movie.
It is. It definitely is. Now, would you consider Joaquin Phoenix as one of the best Jokers, or do you still have Heath Ledger on there?
I would say Joaquin is. I think his performance is fantastic, but I think Ledger is the Joker from the comic book people always wanted. I'd say that. I say the Joker Joaquin plays, it's a totally different. It's so hard to compare because I feel like his Joker is Joker, but it's not the same Joker we meet that comes face to face with Batman.
Right.
The Joker that we meet is and it's pure anarchy at that point. He has there's nothing to him, but he's Joker, and that's it. And I think Heath Ledger portrayed that perfectly. And I think Joaquin just played he portrayed the origin of somebody who'd one day become that character. So I feel like he's definitely if I had to rank him, probably tied for number 1 or 2. It's somehow,
Right. Do you think the sequel is gonna portray how he becomes more like Heath Ledger's Joker, or do you think the sequel? I don't want to say any spoilers, but you know what they're saying about. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil the movie too, but I think there's a lot of ways they could go with it. I really don't care for a sequel. I feel like this was a one of a kind. This thing shouldn't have worked. Nobody wanted a Joker origin story, yet it worked. You guys did a great job. Everybody seemed to really like it or love it.
Right.
Leave it as it is. Yeah, it made a shit ton of money, but move on to something else. I don't know how the hell you make a sequel out of this. I don't know where you would go. Honestly, unless you bring Batman into the mix, but I guess we'll have to see. I think it was
Yeah,
perfect with the way it was. I wouldn't want to see a sequel.
as did I. But which leads us to your number two on it, which I think I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah, my number two. Well, my number one. My number two was my number one for a long time. Probably the better half of the summer. I was raving about this nonstop, just fanboying nonstop for months, and I've seen it countless times. Saw it in theaters countless times. I own it on Blu-ray and digital. I've been watching it, and it's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And this was a movie that I was so hyped for. I was excited. I was completely in for the premise, the cast, the idea that it's pretty much a bunch of actors hanging out in Hollywood during the later years of the downfall of a superstar, and how the times are changing, and like the idea that Quentin Tarantino would recreate how Hollywood looked in the 60s, and how the atmosphere was with the Manson family and all these different things, Sharon Tate. And it was really like this one of a kind experience that each time I watch the movie, it just gets better and better. And it feels like I'm entering this world that I love for the first time again. And as violent as the third act becomes, it's also a very sweet and wholesome film about friendship, about love, about youth, about getting old. And I think it's Quentin Tarantino's most mature movie as well. It's, again, as violent as it becomes in the third act. It's his most mature and all sweetest movie about friendship and bromance. And yeah, number two, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think it's a wonderful movie.
All right, so that's gonna be my number one. So I'll leave your number one. We'll leave that for last. So because I want to talk
Okay,
about it.
yeah, we'll talk about it.
Because my number one is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Now, the entire summer, as you were raving about it and talking about how great a movie it was, I was actually trolling you with how much I hated it, how much it sucked, and how much it was like the worst movie ever, worst Tarantino movie ever of all time. And all in all, behind it, for me, it was also one of the greatest movies to come out this year. I was even Brad Pitt's character for Halloween. You know, I was Cliff Booth. You know,
Did anybody know you were trolling?
nobody knew. Nobody knew. You didn't even know until I told you like a month ago.
No, I didn't. It took like a couple months for me to find out. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I thought it was.
There was a couple flaws, and I knew at some point I'm like, this guy's got to be fucking trolling, because you said you saw it again, and you're like, well, it was a good movie to fall asleep to. I'm like, that's weird. And then suddenly you go to a Halloween party, it's Cliff Booth. I'm like, but he said he didn't like the movie. I was like, yeah, well, like, and then suddenly you drop on and say you actually did like the movie.
Yeah. I mean, for me to go see a movie twice, it's unheard of. You know, when I see a movie two times and I pay for it at the theaters, like that just means I absolutely love that movie, and that's the case with here. I mean, I think Leonardo did I believe it's his first film after winning the Oscar for The Revenant, and I believe it was the best role to come back from an Oscar.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt did a phenomenal job. I mean, I think you could really tell those guys were friends. They might not be friends off screen, but on screen they looked like and acted like best friends.
Yeah.
You know, with just everything, the way that was shot, the old time Hollywood. Margot Robbie as Sharon Tate did a phenomenal job. She didn't have a lot of speaking parts, but the parts that she had, you could just see the sheer joy she had for being an actress, for being in Hollywood in that time frame. She was having so much fun. I'm so glad that, we all know what happened in real life to her, but,
Right.
I'm so glad that movie didn't take it that way, and they showed an alternate timeline. And,
Right.
and that's what made, that's to me, made it a wonderful movie. Like you said, a lot of themes about love and friendship, getting old in Hollywood. I think it was. We all know Quentin Tarantino loves old time Hollywood. He loves old time movies, and I think this was his love letter to old time Hollywood. Now, I really think the movie itself might win Best Picture. Q might pick up a Best Director, win for it. And I think it'll be deservingly so.
Yeah. No, it was for the longest time one of my probably my top number one favorite of the year. I think it's deserving of every reward. I think anything in my top 3 or 4, it could interchange what I love.
Right.
I literally, it was such a great year for movies. But yeah, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is Tarantino's letter to not even old time Hollywood. I would say just film in general. To me, it felt like the swan song, just like everything, even that triumphant sort of last music scene of the Rolling Stones. The time and like you see the lights turn on in Hollywood and like the cars rolling by and you feel like there's a danger lurking in this third act and everything and just like it's such a great movie.
Right.
And it's everything that you said, I echo it. So that is my number 2, and for the longest time it's number 1. It might as well be number 1, but my number 1 is the movie that you didn't like, The Irishman. I have to go The Irishman. I saw it in theaters. I tracked it down. I went with Adrian. We had a great time with it. I think with this movie, the reason why it's my number 1 was it was exactly the movie I wanted, and I was hoping it would be. I didn't want to see a film that was like his other gangster movies, Scorsese's other gangster movies. I wanted to see him do something different. I wanted to see him do something a bit slower, a bit more intimate, and I felt like that's what I got. Aside from the couple of sort of wonky CGI bits, which I'm not going to knock the movie for. It's something that we haven't been able to quite nail yet. But even that stuff aside, the actors were so wired in. I haven't seen De Niro that wired in. Pesci hasn't done a movie in a long time. Al Pacino, these guys were wired in, giving this director pretty much their last sort of big, great performances that we'll probably ever see. So Irishman's my number 1 for sure. I mean, I don't think anything's gonna top it for me. I just thought the cinematography, the music, I didn't mind the pacing or the 3-hour runtime.
Right.
To me, it all clicked. I was able to sit through it twice. But really, the big thing for me is it jumps back and forth now between Once and The Irishman of which one is at my number 1. And now I got Uncut Gems sneaking in where I was like, oh shit, dude, I like that as my number 1. So that's why they're my top 3, but I feel like they could be interchangeable at any day. Next year, I could come to you and say, Once Upon a Time is my number 1 again for that year, or Uncut Gems was actually my favorite that year.
Right.
Because it's just, I felt like this year was so strong for film. And I felt like The Irishman and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood were a capstone of the greatness of 2 great directors that I love. And now a new directing duo in the Safdie brothers coming to the forefront for like a new Hollywood. And now we have these new voices like Ari Aster and stuff. And I thought this was a great capstone year of original movies. And now we're going to go into 2020 with all these fresh voices. And we're going to have these fresh original movies that people have been craving for, even though they don't go out to see. So,
yeah, they don't support them.
So, damn, we went over 57 minutes. I know we said we'd keep it to 25, 30, but I guess we got talking to through a lot of stuff that we love. I thought this was a fantastic year for movies. I thought there was a variety of voices, and that's the thing about film is I want to hear somebody's voice more than anything, somebody's vision. Like, help me see a complete world. And we could talk about any of these movies from Child's Play, which felt like a very sort of RoboCop version of the Chucky franchise about satirical corporations and shit, to stuff like Midsummer, to any of these movies we talked about. There's a clear vision and a voice, and it feels fresh and different. And that's what's so cool about these movies that came out this year. Nothing seemed the same like the other film that we talked about. Everything was different.
Everything was completely different. I mean, and of course you had Disney and them making $2 billion this year. Record
off 2 remakes.
Off 2 remakes.
One of them was a shot-for-shot recreation of a movie from 20 years ago, but somehow was still 20 minutes longer, even though it's the same exact movie. But
I enjoyed it though.
I enjoyed it too. I know a lot of people have been hating on Lion King, but I thought it was fun. It was fine. It's not a movie I'll probably revisit again, but I thought the technology was cool. It was a cool experience watching that.
Right. I mean, and then they did the whole Aladdin thing, and then obviously the X-Men, not X-Men, but the Avengers and Spider-Man.
Yeah. So like like it was fun seeing that stuff. That's the thing we're saying. Like those movies are fun and awesome, and it's cool having these big movies, but also these smaller movies that we just talked about. It was awesome seeing these cool original takes on things.
It is because you know that's the way movies should be, is to give us something cool and original. Maybe start off franchises. And again, I'll say don't start a Joker franchise. It doesn't need a franchise.
Nope.
But maybe, you could start a franchise off, Craw. Or maybe you could start a franchise out of, I don't know.
Knives Out. We just mentioned Knives Out. That's something that apparently, legitly, they're thinking of doing a franchise out of different mysteries. That would make sense.
Right. That would make sense, and that wouldn't be bad. I wouldn't mind to see these movies maybe become a franchise and start something else. But at the same time, don't complain that there's not original movies when there clearly are out there. You just got to know where to find them. You got to know, how to watch them, and there's so many ways to access these movies, whether it be Netflix originals, Hulu originals, Amazon. It's just not relegated to go to movie theaters. You could just watch them on many different platforms.
No, it's the truth, and there's a handful, at least 20 to 30, that are great, or maybe we haven't seen, and we would even get to mention today. Maybe down the line we'll be able to talk about them at some point. But I think that's the biggest takeaway, is that to anybody that says there's no originality in Hollywood, there's original voices, and there's a plethora of great films out there that are just unique stories that are just insanely incredible that we just talked about here today.
Absolutely.
So I think that'll wrap it up for the first episode, right? I think that was a good trial run. We went into pretty much our top 5 of the year, and I think next episode we'll figure it out. This is pretty much the pilot, episode 0, I would say.
Absolutely.
So hopefully people enjoyed it, and we'll be able to bring on some guests next episode. We'll figure it out then. I mean, we could go any direction pretty much within the new year.
Oh, absolutely. And then if people definitely want to see us do a list of whatever, they could definitely give us, comments, on the channel, like it, subscribe, because we are going to be doing a new YouTube channel. We'll be doing new everything because we want a fresh start with this, because this is going to be something completely different than the We Come in Peace podcast.
Oh, yeah. This will be strictly movie-related, movie-driven, and we're going to try to bring some film fans on here to just share the love of different movies that we love and different, like, everything. So it's going to be top 5, and we're going to do specific genres, bring on different voices, and I think it's going to be a fun show. I think we're going to have a fun time with this.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so I think that'll wrap it up for us today, and we'll see you guys when we drop the new episode, and we don't really have much of a plan for that one, but we'll definitely have a plan as the show goes on, just like we did for We Come in Peace until it went off the tracks. But but no, I think we'll have fun within the next episode, and we'll try to track down somebody as a special guest to share the love with. So anything you want to say before we close out, Gabe?
No, just want to say, I want to wish everybody a happy new year, happy holidays, and going forward, just be on the lookout for original movies, and, just, enjoy a film for what it's worth, don't try to look too much into it.
Yeah, I agree with Gabe's sentiments, and yeah, guys, just comment below, like, subscribe to the new channel. We're going to be dropping stuff here now, and we'll let you guys know when the new episode is going to be posted after episode 0 is posted, and we'll get into it from there. We'll start coming up with new ideas. If you guys have any recommendations, shoot them our way, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you for dropping by to Top 5 with Tony and Gabe.
Peace.